Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats introductory episode. I am recording this on December 4th, 2022 from my home in Stanwood, Washington. My name is Dan Matson. I wanted to give you a little bit of history about the podcast and what to expect. I first started this podcast in 2011 and I did weekly interviews and stories and things and published them from my website, which was hookedonwoodenboats.com, which is no longer up and running. Anyway, I did that between 2011 and 2018. I published 217 episodes in total. I stopped the podcast and took down the website in 2018. Life had changed a lot during those 7 or 8 years, and I just no longer had the energy and the time. Plus, I was paying to have the MP3 files hosted on a website. I was having to maintain a website, and it just got to be too much. So I took the whole thing down and just did some other things. Well, then I would get emails from folks saying, "Hey, what happened to your podcast? I sure wish I could listen to it." And I had saved all the episodes, their MP3 files, on my computer. And I always had hopes of putting it up online again someday because it's kind of an archive of interviews and things. Some of the people that I've interviewed in the past are no longer with us. And it's just a fun collection of wooden boat stories. So since 2018, I've kind of been in the back of my mind thinking, how can I get this back up and running? I don't want to pay to do it. I don't want to maintain a website. I just want to make this available to people that want to listen and just kind of have it as a record out there. So I've kind of looked at some different ideas. I thought about putting it on YouTube, but audio podcasts don't work that well on YouTube, to be honest, and it was going to be quite a bit of work. And then just a few days ago, I believe it was December 1st, I Googled and I Googled the phrase free podcast hosting. And I ran into an article that talked about 6 free hosting services for podcasts. So I read through the article, and to my surprise, I found a service called Anchor, which is part of Spotify, that offered free podcast hosting. You don't have to have a website. You just upload your files, or you can create new podcasts right from within their app on the phone. And it's like, wow, this is kind of a no-brainer. So within a few minutes, I had set up an account, Hooked on Wooden Boats, and I added an episode, which was really easy to do, and I put some show notes in with it. And it's like, wow, this really works. So I put up 5 episodes because, like I mentioned before, I have a total of 217. Put up 5 episodes right away and set it up so that it gets the RSS feed goes out to a lot of different pod catching apps like podcasts. Apple Podcasts is probably the biggest. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Spotify, obviously, and there's a couple others in there. That Pocket Cast is another one, so there's quite a few services. So I got that all set up, and I've already had, in the last 3 or 4 days, I've had, maybe 300 listens so far. And I actually had one friend, Derek from Portland, email me and say, "Hey, one of your podcasts showed back up in my podcast app. I can't believe it. I'm so excited." Which is really cool. Hey, cheers to you, Derek, on all those cool boats you're building. So here's what the plan is going forward. I'm going to put up a few more episodes right out of the gate here. I'll probably do 5 more, I'm thinking. So there'll be a total of 10 episodes to kind of get you going. And then my plan from there is to publish 1 episode per week for the next it's going to take, at 1 a week, it might take up to 4 years to publish all of them. I could change my mind on that and publish more, but right now the plan is every Friday morning I'm going to put a new episode out there. So again, these are episodes that were published previously between 2011 and 2018. So the thing to keep in mind as you listen is in the introduction that I give, there's going to be emails given, links given, offers. I'm going to talk about my email address, dan@hookedwoodenboats.com, which is no longer valid. I no longer have the Hooked on Wooden Boats website, which I talk about in there. There's ads, phone numbers, promos, and things. So for the most part, you can just ignore those. It was going to be way too much work to go back and edit all that material, so I'm just going to put it up there. But as you listen, just kind of keep that in mind. The other thing I've done with each podcast is behind the episode title, I've put the date that it was originally published so that you'll have that information there too. Anyway, I'm super excited to get the podcast back up and running, and it's going to be much simpler for me to manage, and it's going to get it out there to the public again, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. If you want to get in touch with me, my email address now is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. So please shoot me an email if you'd like to chat about boats or have questions about the podcast or anything else there. So I'll just add one side note about what I'm currently doing here in Stanwood. I built a scamp over a 5-year period and named her True Blue and launched her in 2020. True Blue was, I believe, my 6th or 7th boat that I'd built in my lifetime. And anyway, I launched her in 2020. I have used her for the last 3 seasons, and she's been a really fun boat, but it's time to sell her. I kind of build boats and use them for a little bit and then sell them. That's kind of my MO, if you will. I love the Scamp. It's really a fun boat, very popular, especially here in the Northwest, where it was where Josh Coleman came up with the idea for the boat and had John Welsford design it out of New Zealand. So anyway, she's up for sale right now, and I've actually got a gentleman from Spokane that's interested in looking at her soon. And I've ordered a Chesapeake Lightcraft Peeler Skiff kit. Part of the reason I'm going to a powerboat is what I've found over the last 3 years that I've owned my Scamp is that my family and friends are not really sailing people. For those of you that sail, I think you understand this, and probably those that powerboat too, that sailing is very different from powerboating. And a lot of my friends, you know, they don't want to go out and sail and wait for the wind and you just sit in the boat, blah, blah, blah. Or you've got a 12-foot boat and they're afraid you're going to go out and capsize a boat, or the boat's too small, or whatever. You know, you get my drift. So it's not easy to get people out. Also, it does take time to set the boat up. When I get to the boat launch with my boat on the trailer, for me to set it up takes around 30 minutes, and then when I get back out of the water, it's another 30 minutes to take it down and make it transport ready back to my home. And then when I get home, I have to clean the boat, which you do with any boat. One of the first boats that I built was a semi-dory, 14-foot semi-dory with a 15-horse Merc, and we used that a lot. We went fishing with it. I pulled the kids, small kids around in inner tubes and everything. So anyway, the Peeler Skiff is 15 feet 2 inches long. It's kind of a traditional flat bottom skiff. I'm going to build that. I'm going to put a 15 or 20 horse outboard on it, and it's a really great design. CLC Boats does a great job. CLC Lightcraft, Chesapeake Lightcraft, they do a great job. They're back in Maryland. I'm going to make some modifications to not to the structure or the design of any of that, but to the interior design. I'm going to make a few modifications to make it look a little more traditional. I'm also thinking about adding a stem to the boat to give it a more traditional look, and I'm probably going to paint it with a satin paint instead of a gloss to give it a little bit more of a workboat look. I've never done that before, and I'm also toying with the idea of using oil-based house paint instead of marine paint. And the reason for that is convenience. For one thing, I have a Benjamin Moore paint store less than a mile from my house, which they make high quality house paints. They have a gazillion colors to choose from. They can make any color in matte, satin, semi-gloss, etc. And it is a little bit cheaper. So I'm just going to try something different that way. Anyway, my hope is to, I ordered the kit last week. It's supposed to be here on Friday, December 9th, which is this week. And I hope to get that boat built before next summer when we do our annual family camping trip in eastern Washington on the Columbia River there. It's actually Lake Antioch technically. And if I have the boat done, I'll take it over and take the grandkids out and have a blast with the boat and bum around and everything. So anyway, that's what I'm up to now. Appreciate you listening to this intro, and like I say, if you have any questions, shoot me an email at woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.